All right, we're in the process of securing the nose cone rotor assembly to the shock cord and body tube. Camera kicked out on me, so we lost part of it. What we did is we took the graphite rod, and we have our shock cord, and I put just a bead of glue along about 1 inch of the graphite rod, and I was about 1/4 inch from the bottom to 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. Then I lay the shock cord on it, take the plastic that we saved from wrapping, fold it over, and use that to push in the crease. I have a crease in it. I fold it over, and I use that to push up and create the bond between the shock cord and the graphite rod. Then we take the red string and we attach it with a square knot at the very, very top. We got a tag in there, and then we're wrapping it around, working our way down the graphite rod and the shock cord. Now, you don't have to be as neat about it as I am. Get some twists on there and you should be good. But I used to tie flies, so this is fairly easy for me to do. I got a little gappy there. Okay. So this is basically like if you were repairing the eye hook of a fishing pole or tying a fly. And we're using this thread to help secure the rod on. Okay, I'm going to stop short of the bottom, get the string untangled here. So I've stopped short of the bottom. I'm going to secure that with a drop of super glue or CA glue. So just put it, little touch, hit it with a kicker, and then we'll trim off the excess. You don't have to use glue to secure it. You can just tie it on if you'd like. I like securing it with CA glue. And I'm going to secure the top portion also. So just a drop of glue. Let it soak in a little bit. Drop a kicker. So now we've bonded those two together, and that's not going to come off. Now, what I was talking about folding over the cloth, or the plastic over the thing, is I put my drop of CA glue, smeared it along the rod, put the rod down, put the shock cord right up against it, and I folded my plastic over, and I pushed everything together with my fingers. This way it doesn't get stuck to your fingers, and you're able to push it with plastic. And the glue will not adhere to the plastic, so it gives you the opportunity to do that. Now, we've got to bring our disc up. And remember, one hole is off-centered and the other hole is centered. And we're going to slide this up over our graphite rod. There we go. So we got it up there just a little bit. We don't need to go way far up there, just a little bit. And pretty centered there. So we can put a drop of glue on both sides. Drop on this side. And a drop on the other side. Let's hit it with some kicker. And now we've secured the disc to the assembly. Okay, we get our plastic out of here, look for any excess and wipe off any excess that we need to. Bubble it here, just pop that right off. Now, if everything was done perfectly and we have everything right, we'll be able to fit it inside the body tube. So I'm just going to wrap this around. I do have a video that talks about how to daisy chain your shock cord to keep it from becoming tangled while it's inside the body. Just tuck that in there like that. And then we'll slide it all down in. And if everything is right, we have everything slid in nice and pretty. So now we're ready to attach our blades and get all that looking pretty good in there. I've got a little bit of glue I've got to work out from the inside of the tube that somehow slid down inside. So we'll get our little sanding stick and we'll slide that up there and get the glue out of the inside of the tube. And that was why we do that dry fit, is to make sure everything slides nice and evenly so you can correct anything. This is from when I glued the motor assembly and we had a little glue run. So we'll get that taken care of and we'll start on the rotor assembly. Alright, so I did take my wooden dowel and I went inside. And I had a little glue bubble down here in the tube, and it was preventing the assembly from sliding up and down. So I popped that loose and sanded it off, and now we can see that it slides in and out readily. We have no difficulty with that at all, and it fits really well up here. Have a really nice fit all the way around. So we have a long shock cord. We have potential for a problem or disaster of tangling. How do we solve that problem? Well, I went over this on another video where we're daisy chaining. Let me zoom in here. We'll zoom up. All we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to make a loop over the top of itself. So this goes over the top, and we're going to reach down in with a crochet hook, and we're going to pull up a loop. So I pull up a loop like that, and I'm going to reach through that loop and pull up another loop, and so on and so forth. And I can make them small loops. They don't have to be big. And we're just going to keep pulling up loops. It's a little bit easier when there's tension put on the other end. And we just keep doing that. Go through and pull up another loop. Pinch it. Go through, pull up the next loop. And then pinch that one. This will help keep your shock cords from becoming tangled. I use this on all my larger rockets too, with larger Kevlar cords. Some people do this with their nylon cords on their level 1, level 2 rockets. So it just depends on what you want to do. And just about got it. And you can see you can take a lot of time in doing this and make really small loops, or you can just go as quickly as you want. Now I've got a tight little package that'll slide right inside that tube without half the trouble. That I was having earlier. Let me zoom back out. So now I can just take and shove that in, and it fits in real easy. And it's not a big hassle to get that ball of cord in there. Now it's in there, and when it ejects, you'll see it uncoils itself. Just unloops itself all the way through. So again, all you're doing is just making a loop over itself, grabbing your crochet needle or doing it by fingers, pull a loop through, pinch it, pull a loop through, pinch it, pull a loop through, pinch it, and just keep going all the way up your cord until you're to the end. Obviously, this is something you need to do on a long flat table, and it self-undoes so that you don't have a knot or a tangle. So it's another great method. All right, here you can see I've mixed up my Elmer's wood filler with some water to about toothpaste consistency. Again, this is something you can purchase at Walmart or Home Depot, Lowe's. Any of your home improvement stores will carry it. And I like mixing it down to about a toothpaste consistency. It makes it spread well and get into all the cracks better, and it also doesn't have too much water that way where we're worried about water causing tube swelling. So what we're going to do is we're just going to paint this into and dab it into where we put the wood putty or the fix-it epoxy. Now what this is going to do is it's going to seep into the little cracks and crevices that the fix-it epoxy may not have gotten into. It may not have gotten into some of these areas where it's joining up against the tube as tight as I'd like. And this is going to solve that problem. And I'm not going to be doing a whole bunch of sanding and then applying more filler or clay and then sanding again. So this is a great method of doing that. You will be sanding most of this material off. You just need to be careful sanding around your skin fins that you don't damage the skin on the fins. It can be hidden eventually with primer, but if you don't do it, it's a lot better off that way. So we're going to get all this painted in there. Then we're going to set this aside to dry until it's nice and firm. And we don't need to fill any of our spirals because this is the white tube that they supplied Apogee Components. Is a very good white tube. It has very tight spirals and there's really no gap. You can see here I also built my little stand. I make these using a piece of flat wood. I drill a hole and countersink a wood screw. Now that wood screw goes into a wooden dowel, and then I spent engine casing that I either slide on or glue onto the wooden dowel. I have sanded quite a bit of paper off of the engine casing so that the rocket will slide on and off very, very easy. That way I don't have to worry about swelling and it gets hung up on there. You can do things like coat it with CA glue or epoxy to, after you sand a lot of the material, paper material off, to seal it up so you don't have any worry about water or moisture causing problems. So we're going to put that off to the side, right side up to dry, and then we'll sand off the extra putty and wood filler when it's all dried up. Alright, it's been long enough for the wood filler to dry, so we're going to start sanding that off. I'll be using some 220 sandpaper, some 320 sandpaper, and I've got some 400 grit sandpaper also. And I have 4 little intricate areas, and if I need to work in a small spot, a bunch of different files, half rounds, rounds, just great little files I can use to get into little corners and part of the fillets that I can't get normally. So we just start off with the higher grit sandpaper. If you have a dowel that you can wrap it around the dowel. We're just going to sand off, being careful on the paper part where the fin is. We're going to sand off most of this wood putty that we actually put on here. And then on the body tube and then into the fillet. And constantly feeling every step of the way. Feel how it feels. Is it close to what you want? And we're just going to keep going. Then we'll move up to our next grade paper. And you can get it to coil over like that. And that kind of helps keep it in the grooves. We'll sand some more. Let's go the long way here. Some people like using a foam sanding sponge for this. Okay, that feels pretty good. And you can see where I had a lot of low spots there because I have a lot of material still left in there. And then we'll finally finish up with the finer grit stuff. So I did sand off a lot of it. Not as much as I thought I might sand off on this one, but other fins I might. Then we got a touch up down here on the bottom where a little bit of it might have oozed over. So we're going to lightly sand that. See how that feels. And then we're going to work at the top where we have to just kind of very carefully take and do the gentle sanding and a little bit at a time until we get it the way we want it. And then once we're all done with all the sanding, we're going to be ready for our primer coat. So we'll finish up the sanding and come back and get ready for primer coat.